Do you want more time, clear vision, and have some future planning? Let's make 2023 the biggest jump yet. On August 16th at 9 a.m. Eastern, I'm opening 8 spots for one on one consulting. Are you a little bit nervous about this year? We've got your back. If you want to be removing yourself from the daily tasks, if you want a clear vision, and if you want to plan for multiple scenarios, this consulting package is for you. By the end of our 6 months together, you will have completed a clear process to remove things from your plate, examine what should be added, and know how and when to hire or outsource. We'll create a quarter by quarter plan that outlines the 3 biggest building blocks that you want to achieve in the next year, and we'll examine, plan, launch, and assess your money situation. We'll meet together for 6 months for a total of 12 sessions together. You'll get to come to my 2-day intensive here at my house in October with other private practice owners just like you. You'll get phone support, project management, and access to all of our communities here at Practice of the Practice. On top of all of that, you'll get discounts on support such as IT, copywriting, design, and social media. With everything included in this package, that would be over $2,000 a month. But 8 people are going to go back to our 2016 prices of $895 per month. If you want to grab one of these spots, make sure you're on the wait list. Head on over to practiceofthepractice.com/consulting deal because this sold out in 4 hours last January. You are not going to want to miss this. Again, that's practiceofthepractice.com/consulting deal to be on the wait list. Or head on over to that website on August 16th at 9 a.m. Eastern to grab your spot. When it's sold out, and we won't be offering this deal for a while. So jump on in and make 2023 the biggest jump yet. This is the Practice of the Practice podcast with Joe Sanok, session number 895. I'm Joe Sanok, your host, and welcome to the Practice of the Practice podcast. I am so excited for this series that we are doing that's going to be covering all the things we did in Level Up Week earlier this year. And this series is all about giving a spotlight to some amazing guests that we had. We wanted to make sure that you, if you missed it, were able to get this education. It's something that's been only available to our membership communities for the last 6 months or so. And now we are letting you have access to it if you didn't attend Level Up Week earlier in the year. Also, wanted to make sure that you know that on September 18th through September 21st, we have Level Up Week 2023. So make sure that you come to Level Up Week. We are going to have tons of amazing speakers, amazing panels on everything from starting your practice, starting a group practice, and growing a group practice, as well as things like passive income and really just leveling up in a new way in your private practice. So make sure you're on that interest list. You'll get all those dates and all those registrations emailed to you over at practiceofthepractice.com/level up. So without any further ado, let's dive into today's episode. Well, welcome everybody. So glad you're here. Love when you have your videos on so I can see all of your lovely faces. Beliza, I love the farm background you got going on there. That's killer. You've been on a lot of webinars. I've never seen that background. I love it. Cool. Well, we are talking all about 5 simple marketing techniques every practice needs to master. And right now we've got a poll going so that we can just see your phase of practice. So we'd love to see your phase of practice. And in just a minute, Dana's going to close out that poll. But really glad that you're here. When I think marketing, I think about me being really dumb when I first launched my private practice. I created my own website on Microsoft Office, and I had a white background. And you know what happened is I put all sorts of keywords in the background. I made them white. So it said like helping angry kids therapy, couples therapy, but worst practices for SEO. But I had no idea what I was doing. I would love when you think back to, whether you're just starting a practice now, or maybe you've been in practice for a while, but whenever your beginning was, when you started to dip your toes into the business world, into the private practice world, when you thought about marketing when you first got started. So maybe that's right now. Maybe you're getting started right now. Maybe that was years ago. What one or two words do you associate with marketing early when you first started? You may have changed that, but we'd love for you to put that in the chat section right now while we get going. It's always entertaining to see what words are connected with marketing. Well, I'm Joe Sanok, and if I haven't met you, hello. I'm Joe. I'm the founder of Practice of the Practice, and we get to help thousands of therapists, coaches, counselors to build thriving private practices that they absolutely love. We want to come alongside you. We're not going to tell you this is the only way to do it. Instead, we will help you set the vision for your practice, give you the techniques, give you the ideas so that you can have a thriving practice. We have a podcast that gets about 70,000 listens a month. Some months have been better than others where we've got 100,000 listens. I write for Harvard Business Review. I've worked with Simon Sinek as one of his speakers and been featured in a bunch of publications. But more importantly, I get to help people like you. And I'm a dad of two amazing daughters that are 8 and 11. And I love spending time outside or playing board games. This weekend, what were we playing? Oh, the kids' version of Cards Against Humanity. If you have not played that, it is hilarious. They say that it's for mature children and immature adults. Holy cow. It cracked me up. Some of the things that my kids said without realizing what they were saying was just so funny. So the flow of this session today is I'm going to be talking about mindsets that get in the way of marketing. We're going to talk about optimizing your time to make marketing a priority and the 5 simple marketing techniques that every practice owner has to master. So let's see some of these words that people associated with marketing. Early on, exciting, overwhelmed, sleazy salesman, not my skill set. Connecting, salesy, sales, selling. So a lot around marketing equals selling, sleazy, some opportunity words that are maybe a little more positive in there. But a lot of times that is what we have associated with marketing. You think about every movie as a child that you watch, the person with money is taking advantage of the poor and ripping them off and, Scrooge McDuck, all of that kind of stuff. But we're going to talk about how to do this in a way that actually mirrors what you would want and how you would want to be sold to. There's something that I heard, I forgot who said it, just that people hate being sold to, but they love to buy. I mean, like I like buying things that I want. I like to know that it's quality. I like to know that it's, cheap or my budget or whatever the thing is that I'm looking for. I want to be able to do that. But as soon as someone's like trying to sell me on it, it's like, ooh, I don't know. Like now I don't really want to buy it from you. And so let's keep that in mind. So let's talk first about mindsets that get in the way of your marketing. So the first mindset that often gets in the way of marketing is only I can do it best. Only I can do it best. So a lot of times we think in a few different areas. Only I can really love my business the best. In some ways that might be true, but there also might be behaviors like doing your SEO, doing your blogging, doing your finances, all these things that if you're thinking only I can do it best, well, that doesn't allow you to free up time to do the things that are even more visionary, even more impactful for your business. And so then instead of either outsourcing marketing, instead of working on the marketing with a professional or even hiring someone within your business to do it, you're like, only I can do it best. So you're going to do it and burn yourself out. So this frequently happens. Only I can do it best. I know when I first started, uh, when it came to marketing, I was designing every single one of my counseling practices business cards. I was designing the website. And crappy website until I finally had a person that knew what they were doing upgrade it. I was designing a lot of the things in Canva for social media. And when you're first getting going, a lot of times you need to save that money. You need to bootstrap. You need to learn those things. But at a certain point, then we've got to stop doing it all. The second mindset that often gets in the way of good marketing is if I market, I am sleazy. I swear I didn't change this slide based on what y'all just said. This is such a common mindset that if I market, I am sleazy. I'm sure if any of you shut your eyes, assuming you're not driving, and thought, when have I been sold to and it felt sleazy? I remember I was looking for bunk beds for my daughters and I went into a furniture store. I knew they had this really kind of light bunk bed that could, disassemble into 2 twin beds and go back. I knew what I wanted. I knew where it was. And this guy kept trying to sell me on all these other things. And it was like, I have seen the bunk bed in the back of your store. Let me just go to the bunk bed and buy it. and it felt sleazy. And it was like the same technique, like, "Hi, what's your name? My name's Jim." And it's like, then, "How's your weekend been going?" And, "Have you ever considered," and they're like setting up the pain point. "What kind of quality do you look for in mattresses? And, do you care about the quality of what goes into your kids' beds?" And it was like all these techniques that were just meant to make me feel bad for the type of bed I wanted to buy my kids and to do an upsell. Now, am I against high quality beds for my kids? Not really. I mean, if I can find it at a reasonable price, but it was a bunk bed. I knew it wouldn't be something they used for the rest of their lives. And so I in my head had done my research of what I wanted. And being sold into something that you don't want just feels sleazy. And so even at practice the practice, if I'm talking with someone that's looking at joining one of our membership communities or doing consulting, I frequently, not frequently, every single call, I say, we have plenty of people applying for different phases of practice and support. And as we talk, we'll talk about what fits in your budget, what fits in your timeline. And I just want it to be a really good fit for you. And in fact, last week, I had two pre consulting calls where people came in planning to spend $1,000 plus. And I said to them, you know what? Next level practice would honestly be the best fit for you. It's $100 a month, and you don't need to pay $1,000 a month for the support you're looking for because that's what they needed. And so if we just start with that, then you marketing is not sleazy. It's you pairing what someone's looking for with what your services are. Another mindset that often gets in the way is the idea that marketing is only for extroverts. I remember I went to one of these business before hours things. It was at like 7 a.m. when I had my full time job, my part time private practice. Dana's eyes just got big. Like, I cannot picture Joe going to anything at 7 a.m. Like, I literally on Sunday slept until 11:30. I'm like a teenager still. But I knew Level Up Week was coming and I just didn't set my alarm. I just kept sleeping. So, anyway, I went to this business before hours at 7 a.m. And it was all these like insurance people and lawyers and what else? It seems like a lot of insurance and lawyers. And it almost was like they're making it rain with their business cards. I just remember feeling like this is not my crowd. And I actually met this attorney who he was kind of in the corner, just I don't know, drinking a cup of coffee or something. And it's just like, "You look like you're not super comfortable with the situation either." And he's like, "Yeah, I just hate these things." Like, and as we talked, I was like, "What do you do?" And he's like, "Well, I'm a business attorney and I just like doing the business stuff." And I was looking for a business attorney. And he and I talked about how he had gone like water skiing with his kids over the weekend. And guess who became my business attorney? It was him. And even though I would consider myself an extrovert and I'm typically comfortable in social situations, that type of marketing I'm not comfortable with, where it's just like, "Oh, can I meet 10 new people in half an hour and speed networking?" And it just doesn't feel authentic. Marketing is not only for extroverts. And in fact, I would actually say those of you who are introverted probably have the upper hand because you're going to be better at doing those individual connections, those individual networking, the individual marketing that really aligns with people rather than the maybe typical extroverted, kind of salesy type of person. Another mindset that we have to deconstruct is that marketing takes a lot of money. We're going to talk about pay per click advertising. We're going to talk about some free advertising, some ways to think through your marketing dollars. Your marketing should scale with your business. And so most business books will say to have around 5% of whatever your gross revenue is going into marketing. So if you're bringing in 100K a year, to have about 5% would be 5 grand a year in your marketing. And so to be able to run some of those numbers. Now, guerrilla marketing, that book, it's an amazing book with all sorts of ideas that are more like guerrilla warfare, where you're not following the typical script, which is really inspirational. They recommend that when other people are cutting and when other people are reducing their budgets, that's the time to really amp up. So you have these like savings over time so that when things go down and there's opportunities, you can pounce on them. And so right now, even looking with all the banking worries and all the recession worries, advertising most likely is going to get cheaper and cheaper because less people are going to be paying for it. And so that's an opportunity to get even more for your money if you're doing it. Or doing CTV ads, like those, very pointed type of ads that come through Amazon or come through Hulu, where you can focus on I want people in this zip code and I want to just deliver it to people that have these buying habits and these types of things. It's crazy what technology can do now. So marketing doesn't need to take a lot of money and it can just be a percentage of your income that you spend on your marketing. And the last one is that marketing is only for big companies. Yes, big companies do billboards. And I swear, when there's a new TV show coming out on Apple TV, it's like that ad follows me from my Apple News to everywhere that I am. I see this new TV show. And I kind of don't want to watch it when I see that until I hear other people talk about it. They can spend millions of dollars to promote that because they're a big company. But if we do strategic marketing, if we do marketing that is aimed at what you're actually trying to achieve, that makes it a lot easier. So, for example, if you know I need 20 clients to be full and I haven't started a group practice yet, you don't need to market to thousands and thousands of people. You need to make 20 people know, like, and trust you, and then you have a full practice. So that's how we need to be thinking about it differently than the big companies. So people do business with those that they know, like, and trust. So when we talk about marketing, those are the three things that we're trying to help people do. So, for example, if people don't know that you exist, that's the only thing you need to work on is getting people out there to know that your practice exists. That Brian Cooper, counselor in Southeast Michigan, if there's people that doesn't don't know Brian exists and they're a perfect fit for his practice, we want to make sure that people know he exists. So that can be through networking, that can be through marketing, that can be through blog posts, connecting with schools. So know, and then like. So people have heard about Brian. They go to his website. Well, he looks like a guy that I would like to work with. His specialty aligns with what I'm looking for, and then trust. And it looks like there's the background there that I can trust that he's a professional. And there's lots of ways that you can do that, where someone can go from know, like, and trust in 10 seconds. It can be their doctor says, here's the person you have to go see for this thing that's going on in your life. And so you get kind of the blessing of somebody. Or someone puts it out on Facebook and says, hey, I really need help for my teen daughter who's struggling with this. Um, I mean, I don't think you should probably put that out on Facebook because the world doesn't need to know what your teen daughter is dealing with. But say you did, a bunch of people might say, oh, this therapist is the best in that area. So they go from not knowing someone exists to know, like, and trust. So we want to keep thinking that know, like, and trust. So before you market, you have to make time for the following. And this is from the lean manufacturing model. So lean manufacturing is a way of making sure that things click along really well, that we don't have overflow in the manufacturing world of cars just sitting on a parking lot for months on end and having all that storage, but that we're growing over time. We're taking that, we're applying it now to the counseling world. So first we have to plan. So what does our marketing look like? What are we trying to achieve from it? What, in regards to planning, do we want to have happen? So do we need 20 clients to be coming in? If we have a group practice, maybe we need more. Maybe we want to keep scaling. Maybe every 3 months we want to hire a new clinician in the practice. Well, that means that every 3 months we need to be having enough clients coming in for that person. So plan, what are we trying to achieve here? Let's give it a whirl. So often we overthink things, especially as highly trained professionals with masters or doctorates. We overthink things way more than we should. And so the idea of let's get this marketing going, let's see what happens, get the data, so then we can make decisions on data instead of trying to anticipate problems and overthink it and go super slow. So we're going to plan, do, and then we're going to check that data. So how did that marketing go? Did it work? If you don't even on your intake have how'd you hear about us? Or if you don't have different things for your Google ads set up or unique landing pages where from a macro perspective, you can even see how many people clicked on that ad and ended up on this thank you page for booking their intake session with you. You're just throwing money out. You don't know what's working. And so we need to make sure we know what's working. We're checking that. Then we're going to adjust what's working and what we're doing. So we're going to just go in that loop again. So plan, do, check, adjust. So maybe we do an A/B test, which I'll talk about in a second, between Facebook ads and Google ads wins. And we say, okay, well, we're going to double our budget with Google ads and do that for a while. And then we're going to add something else to it. So over time, we're plan, do, check, adjust. And we're making time for this because it's easy to say for a client, if I work 1 hour or 45 minutes, I get paid this much. That is a way of thinking about your money. But in growing your business, we want to make time for that as well, in the same way that we are trying to grow just the clinical side. So, how to find an extra hour a week in your calendar. Okay, so here's some just ideas of how to find extra time. So, we're starting with finding the time because if you don't set aside the time to do marketing, you're just going to make your already full plate feel even more full, or you're going to just ignore it and not do it. So schedule some of your sessions back to back so you end on time. So if you're a person that typically doesn't end your sessions on time, start ending them on time. So, for example, when I had a full time job in my part time practice, I had a part time group practice with four other 1099 clinicians while I still had my full time job. So I knew I'd be working my 40-hour a week job. Then I would go and do counseling. And every minute that I was doing counseling or was away was a time I was away from my family. So I would book, oftentimes my boss would let me, work through lunch and then leave early. So I'd have like a 4:30 appointment, a 5:15 appointment, and then a 6 o'clock appointment, be done at 6:45. So just three in a row, knock it out. So I'm saving myself that time between sessions. I'm making sure I end on time. They know I have someone right after. And if your clients know and they're like, wait, 5:15, that's a weird time. Like, yeah, I'm trying to be efficient with my time so that I can also, be back with my family and live the life that I'm teaching and working with you to live. It's going back to back. I'm doing, say, those three individuals' progress notes, maybe not at the same time like I had wrote there, but that you're doing them all at once. That you're gonna, in say 15 minutes, be like, I'm gonna get these progress notes done instead of I'm gonna do 45 minutes and then I'm gonna do progress notes for 10, and then I'm gonna just sit around and regroup. Sometimes it can be really helpful to just be like, I'm gonna sprint for a little bit. I'm gonna get a lot done. You can do part of your progress notes in the session with the client, to either develop or use standard types of things that you can do within the session so that your progress note time outside of the session isn't as robust or take away as much time from you. And so to be able to even say, okay, let's rank all of these and then we can look at the progress over time. You can block out every minute that you're working so you aren't tempted to go down a YouTube rabbit hole. Or even set a timer if you're going to watch something on YouTube. And maybe it is good for your business. Maybe you're watching a video on marketing, but just say, okay, I'm not going to let myself go down that rabbit hole of clicking on things I find interesting in the news or, late night shows or whatever. I'm going to set a timer for 10 minutes just in case I get sucked in, and that'll kind of pull me out. Setting timers is such an effective way to get more done. Itemizing your to-do list by importance and impact. So to just, brain dump at the beginning of your day, say, what's all the stuff that's on my mind that I need to get done at work today, or even at home for that matter. Now let me do it in order of importance and impact, because there may be things that may not feel important, but they're going to really help you level up in a different way. And so saying, I'm going to focus on those things first instead of just the easy things, maybe handing off tasks to an assistant. Tomorrow, we're going to be talking with James all about how to hire your first virtual assistant and how important that is to really be doing just the work you do best and outsourcing the rest, to really make sure that you are only focusing on those areas that are your lane. If you're charging 125 a session and you're doing your own billing, your own phone calls, your own email management, all these things that a executive assistant could do, you're the most overpaid executive assistant out there at 125 a session. You potentially could go to one session and hire someone for 3 or 4 hours with that 1 hour. So you're multiplying your time. And then lastly, take off Fridays so you're forced to do more in less time. If you take a day off or you set even clearer boundaries around your time, work will expand to the time that's given. And so if you give yourself 5 days a week, most of what you do will take 5 days a week. Whereas if you get in the habit of really compressing things, Parkinson's law teaches us that you're going to get it done. Now, it may not be the perfect version. It may be that you're paralyzed by perfection. It's hard to do that at first. But what we want to do is we want to be able to start to get in that habit of getting things done quicker. So before we dive into your marketing, one essential exercise, and I would pull out your phone and take a picture of this. And actually, I'm going to take a picture of it for my own Instagram. And Dana, smile. um, is who is your business avatar? So, a business avatar is a profile that you make of who your ideal client is. Now, this is not, I help women ages 25 to 65 that are alive and make money. No, this is, I'm going to name this person, and this person's name is going to be Dana, and she's 37 years old, and she lives in Colorado and has two kids, and the income is this, and her partner does this for a job, and social habits wise she's into paddleboarding and camping and sleeping in, getting together with friends in California. So what are the social habits? Finding an actual picture online of who looks like your Dana, who looks like your business avatar, to be able to picture, okay, who is this person? Where do they hang out? What do they do? And this is primarily for you as the business owner so that you can picture them. So that if you're being interviewed by local television and someone just asks a really generic question like, who does counseling help? You can then speak to Dana, your business avatar, and say, "Oh, there are so many women in the world that are hurting right now, and here's all the stresses that they have. And in my practice, I've found that when we can do these things, it helps them transform in different ways." So then, instead of speaking to some generic audience, you're speaking to your business avatar. You have them in your mind so much that they're almost like another member of your team at your practice. That you know them so well, you know their pains that whether it's a blog post, whether it's an interview, whether it's marketing, you have that person in your brain. All right, we're going to go through the 5 simple marketing techniques that you have to master. And then after that, we're going to talk a little bit about our communities and then dive into questions. So make sure those questions are coming in the chat. We're going to be talking all about marketing and your individual situation. First thing you have to master is A/B testing. A/B testing. So what's A/B testing? A/B testing is where you have 2 similar things and you have one major variable that is different. Sometimes you have 2 major variables that are different, but for the most part, you want it to be very similar. So for example, you may have a very similar ad that you run on both Google and on Facebook. You may say, I'm going to put $100 into Google Ads. I'm going to put $100 into Facebook. And you're going to have a time limited period that you're going to see which one gets you more clients. And so, with that situation, you may have unique landing pages to track it. You may have ways that you ask people in their intake. You may even have unique phone numbers that are set up. There's all sorts of ways that you can use technology in a way that's HIPAA compliant before their clients, before you have a bunch of protected health information to make sure that you know that your information's working. So one way that I did this was when I had mental wellness counseling. It was probably October, November. So most of the local magazines were looking at their January issue. And so, January, new year, new you kind of stuff. And I decided that the Grand Traverse Women's Magazine, because we had some female clinicians at my group practice that were focusing on women's issues, Grand Traverse Women's Magazine and the Traverse City Business News. I contacted both of them and I said, I'm doing an A/B test to see which between Traverse City Business News and Grand Traverse Women's Magazine will get more clients from an ad. I have $500 to spend for each of you. Want to know what's the most robust plan that you can offer to me? One of them, instead of a quarter-page ad, gave me a half-page ad. Another one gave me a free email to their list, and also they have this daily thing called the ticker, which is like local business news and stuff. But at the bottom, it'll say, "Need some help with counseling? Sign up for mental wellness counseling here." So they each gave me a better than normal package. And then the actual ad content was very similar because I wanted the main variable to be that it's 2 different magazines. So it's just a basic kind of scientific study. And so then the idea is you run it. So I ran it for that month. And which one won? The Grand Traverse Women's Magazine. I think we got 3 new clients from there, and TC Business, I think we only got 1. And so then I did another set of ads and had a new B. So the A now is the winner of the previous A/B test. So Grand Traverse Women's Magazine, going to do another $500. Now let's find something new. So we might do $500 in Facebook ads. We might do $500 in a different magazine. We might pay somebody to reach out to a whole bunch of folks. We want to be able to, over time, figure out what's the best method for marketing. Now, sometimes we'll have more difference between the A/B testing. So it might be one is a magazine and one is direct networking. It might be really similar, like my example. So the idea is that over time, you're refining the marketing that you're doing. As a therapist, I can tell you from experience that having the right EHR is an absolute lifeline. I recommend using Therapy Notes. They make billing, scheduling, note-taking, telehealth, and e-prescribe incredibly easy. Best of all, they offer live telephone support that's available 7 days a week. You don't have to take my word for it. Do your own research and see for yourself. Therapy Notes is the number one highest rated EHR system available today, with a 4.9 out of 5 stars on trustpilot.com and on Google. All you have to do is click the link below or type promo code Joe on their website over at therapynotes.com and receive a special 2-month trial absolutely free. Again, that's therapynotes.com and use promo code Joe on the website. If you're coming from another EHR, Therapy Notes will also import your demographic data quick and easy at no cost, so you can get started right away. Trust me, don't waste any more of your time and try Therapy Notes. Just use promo code Joe at checkout. Second thing we need to master is the return on investment and the lifetime value. So, the amount of times that I'll meet with a pre consulting client that are looking to do one on one consulting with me, and I'll say, do you know what the lifetime value is of your clients? For one, they won't often even know what that means. And for two, if they do know what it means, they won't know how to calculate it or won't have calculated it. So, first, what's lifetime value? It's exactly how it sounds. How much money over the lifetime of that client working with your practice will they bring into your practice? So if we just pull out our calculators, say you're charging 150 per session, and then you go into therapy notes and you see that the average amount of sessions that of all the clients in your practice that come, it's like 7.2. So we multiply it times 7.2. That number right there would be that the client is worth $1,080. Now, you may also figure out, well, the average, out of 10 people, one person will usually refer someone. So then you can start to say, okay, well, then that's worth a little bit more because that reduces marketing. So we may say, okay, the average person financially is worth $1,200. Now we know how much that person is going to be worth financially coming into the business. And if we spend less than that, then that means we're trading nickels for quarters. And so we want to be able to say, what's the return on investment for this? So if I spend $10 per click in a Google ad, I'm going to be like, wow, that seems like a lot of money. If 100 people click that, 10 bucks, that's $1,000. But if all those people click it and I spend $1,000, if I get 20 clients, that means that's probably worth $20,000. Okay, so I just spent $1,000 on Facebook ads, but now my business has $20,000 in clients. So this is where we go back to the A/B testing. We may say, okay, the ROI with that situation is I spend $1,000, I get $20,000 in clients. Now, what if I put that $1,000 into different type of advertising, put it into different type of networking, to different types of ways to reach out to the community? So now you can start to blend that A/B testing with the ROI and the lifetime value, having those numbers. Next, we want to look and understand pay per click. Recently, I read that 80% of buying decisions are in some way informed or finalized because of a paid advertisement. 80%. That's insane. So that means that you're going through your Instagram and you see a sweatshirt you like, you don't even realize it's a sponsored post and you don't click on it, and then at some point you end up clicking on it. That paid sponsored post in some ways influencing you and your buying decision. And so understanding how Facebook or Instagram ads work and talking through with your clinical staff what that could look like, making sure that you know how you're going to understand if that's working. So someone clicks on it, if it just goes to your general website, there's no way to track that versus having a Facebook pixel on there or having unique landing pages that are only used for a Google ad campaign. So for example, we about a month ago started doing a Google ad campaign specifically around different aspects of private practice. So it sends people to a specific sign up page, which is a copy of our other sign up page for some free resources. And then it goes to a thank you page after that. And that thank you page is the one page that it just tracks how many people went there. It's not like getting all your data and all that. All it's doing is saying, okay, how many people went there? So in order to get to that final page, we have to have someone have completed that form. So then I know, okay, that's someone that quote converted because they didn't just click on the ad. They actually filled out the form to get our free resources. And then on the other side of it, they got the thank you page. And so having some of those basics set up, but it's very simple when you think about it. You're paying to get in front of eyes. A percentage of people will click on said ad. Then you want to know if it works. So pay per click. Number four is content reuse. As people that are highly educated, it's easy for us to come up with content in regards to our specialty. So, trauma, anxiety, couples, whatever it is that is our particular specialty, it's pretty easy for us to come up with things. And it can be almost addictive to say, I need to write more blog posts, I need to do more of this. And we're starting from scratch over and over. But what we want to do is we want to reuse the content that is working as much as possible. So if we do something on Facebook or on Instagram and it gets way more shares or seems to really strike a chord with people, we want to look at how do we do that more? How do we amplify that? I heard early on in my career, if you find a unicorn, make mini unicorns. We accidentally started ranking number one for the search term how to name a private practice. And so it was just totally, I wasn't planning. It was like a year into practice the practice. And most of our traffic was coming through that search term. So then we made that blog post even more robust. I did a podcast about how to name a private practice. I did a follow-up podcast on how to name a private practice. Did other, how do you name a group practice? And so when you find something that works, reuse it. And so if you have a blog, it may be informed by you being on a radio interview or vice versa. You may go into that radio interview with, here's my 5 tips on anxiety reduction when you're entering the spring. How would you break down those 5 tips into a blog post? If you were to break that down into social media micro content, what would that look like? You think about on Instagram, the little carousel of photos. If it was on there, what would that look like? So instead of coming up with new content all the time, you're now thinking, okay, what would that look like in social media? What would that look like as an email? And now let's expand it into what would it look like as a book or a webinar or a presentation, so that as we find things that are working, we really can dig in. Go ahead, Dana.
Hey, Joe, what can you tell us what micro content is? That's a question in the chat.
Yeah, micro content is just really small content. And so it can be that you're putting out just a handful of sentences, on Instagram. So someone that does this really well is the holistic psychologist on Instagram. She'll have, oftentimes a carousel of photos that's really just content. It's like a mini blog post. So it might say, like 5 signs of a narcissist that you don't usually notice. And then it'll have like an arrow and it'll be like number 1 and like have a couple sentences, number 2. So really it's just really tiny bite-sized content in any form. So it could be Instagram, it could be bite-sized content in, maybe a daily text message that people sign up for that you launch. It could be any sort of just micro, so small content that you're putting out.
There's another question. Do you want that now?
Yeah,
or wait.
Sure.
Okay. What if I'm not looking for more work, in parentheses clients, but more work that fits me, in parentheses the right type of clients?
Then you are looking for more work. You're looking for the right kind of work. So I would say what you want to do is start being even more clear and particular in your marketing. One thing I love is that marketing is like a magnet. You want it to attract who you want it to attract, and you want it to repel who you want it to repel. And so I would say maybe your marketing needs to be even more, I don't want to say aggressive, but it needs to be like stirring emotions in people. So if you only like a certain type of person, really be hyper focused on that type of person within your marketing. I would also say probably raise your rates. If you're that full, my rule of thumb is if you're 60% full, that's when you should jump by $25 to $35 per session. And if you're that full and you are all insurance based, it's gonna be very hard to turn people away when you're that insurance based and that full. So it may be worth leaving some of those more difficult insurances as well. And so then as you start to shed some of the clients that are not a perfect fit for you, then you have to decide, do I want to keep the other type of clients that I'm attracting within the practice? So maybe you hire somebody that works with a particular client. So for example, for me, for years, I was known as the therapist that worked really well with angry teenage boys. I got so many angry teenage boys. I loved it. I started experiential education programs where we took angry teenage boys out sailing and did therapy on the sailboat. And for years, that was something I really, really enjoyed. And then when I had my first child, I realized that I like to be around my kid in the evening. I don't want to work till 9 at night anymore. I don't want to do after school hours nearly as much as I used to. And so that shifted for me. But I couldn't just be not known as the teenage boy guy. That sounds so weird when I say it that way. The therapist that helps teenage boys. that I had to bring someone in that would help with that overflow. And I realized that as I was getting, Gottman level 2 certified, I enjoyed working with couples, and there was, life and transition things that I enjoyed more. And really it was more working professionals during the day that I enjoyed working with. So I had a choice. I could just start saying, sorry, I'm not doing after school anymore, or I could find a clinician that could help. And so I hired Sarah, who she's a snowboard instructor. She like got along with all sorts of teens, and she mostly did Saturdays and Sundays and evenings. And so it was very seamless transition to say, I'm no longer doing evenings at all. And I definitely have never done weekends, but Sarah is, and she is my blessing. So going to hand those people off. So if there's more to that question, happy to dig in even more during the Q&A. And number 5 is that networking equals marketing. Uh, so often we think of those as being separate things. But if we just think about who knows you, who likes you, who trusts you, the more that you network authentically, the more people are going to refer to you. And so even though we can say some of those strategies are a little different, of course, running a Google ad or Facebook ad is going to be way different than networking. We want to still view it through the same lens, because if you're sitting having a cup of coffee or a matcha latte with somebody, and they're a therapist and you're a therapist, you're going to have a connection. You're going to talk to them. You're going to go deeper with them. And so the more that you can be networking, especially with people who don't see your niche or that are full from your niche, those are the people that can help fill you up. So, for example, if you help married couples, reach out to other folks that help married couples. They might get full at some point and need to refer out to you. Or look for people that primarily are play therapists, and maybe the parents want to start getting their own therapy for marriage. So find people that don't necessarily specialize in your area. We're going to do Q&A in just a minute, but I want to make sure you know about some of the really awesome things that are happening in our communities. So we have some killer practice the practice communities that you may not be aware of. If you're ready to level up but confused where to start, our communities are for people wanting to level up through the private practice or additional streams of income. So we've helped over 2,000 therapists to start, grow, and scale their private practices. We have a proven process based on 15 years of private practice experience. And that's just was my experience. If we start to add in Dr. Larry Beer and Ash and Latoya and Andrew, we really should do the math on how many total years we have as a consulting team. But, Larry, who just joined our team, had a 50-person clinical practice. And then, Andrew started his practice just a couple of years ago and filled up so fast. We've been recognized and won over 9 top consultant podcasts and other Best in Therapy awards since 2018. And our members have collected over $200 million in sales. So what we're doing is working. And if you want to shortcut the process, we have all sorts of people that are here that are in Next Level Practice, Group Practice Launch, Group Practice Boss, and Audience Building Academy. But here's our 4 communities, just so that you know where to jump in. So if you're in solo practice, Next Level Practice is for you. This is an ongoing community similar to Netflix, where you pay until you realize I don't need that anymore. And it's really meant to help you in your solo practice through. We have weekly teachings. We have Ask the Experts, where we bring in experts. We have meetings where it's what's working, where I lead those, and we talk about what's working in our private practice. Then as you grow, which I would say the average person within 6 to 9 months is as full as they want to be, if not sooner. Then when you're ready to grow a group practice and make that first hire, that's where Group Practice Launch makes the most sense. So our next cohort of that is open right now. The next one will be opening in September. So that's $250 a month for 6 months. And so you'll do that over those 6 months. If for some reason you don't make your first hire in those 6 months, you can go back through Group Practice Launch. So we've had people that just life has happened. Maybe they moved, or they had an ill parent, or just something happened where they couldn't do that first hire. You can always go back through it totally free. Next, if you're running a group practice, that's where Group Practice Boss is the best program for you. Very similar to Next Level Practice, but aimed at group practice owners. We have small groups similar to Next Level Practice, accountability partners, access to over 40 e-courses, and all of our live trainings as well. And then for people that are looking to grow and expand nationally outside of their practice, maybe they're amazing at trauma and they want to start a podcast and build e-courses and all sorts of other things. That's where Audience Building Academy is the best step. That's a 6-month program also. That's $5.95 a month for that time. There's all sorts of bonuses that go with that as well. You watch particular trainings each time before we meet, and then we have a live Q&A in small groups to talk about every phase. So I'm going to show you in a minute just what our circle communities look like, and then we're going to dive into Q&A. So make sure you're putting those into the chat so that we can tear through them. Every time we do these types of webinars, the Q&A starts out slow and then we get to the end, and then there's like 15 or 16 questions in there. Just happened in Valerie's right before this. All right, so again, next level practice is aimed at solo practitioners from that moment you're just starting out all the way till you have a thriving solo practice. Then next after that is group practice launch, then group practice boss, then audience building academy. So a few things that people are saying. Anna here said how quickly work happened in the sprints. It was like time became very fluid, where we were sprinting and getting things done. I got more done in 2 days than I got done in the last 2 years. Marta said, I went into it thinking I need someone to help me lead because of the level I want to scale to, someone who's been there. I was ready to have freedom in pursuing a business idea, and one-on-one consulting with Joe helped me create a clear vision of what that looks like. So Marta did both one-on-one consulting and audience building academy. Ellen said, he's such an amazing guy to work with, which this is one thing that it's weird for me to read. And I'm like, why didn't we just have a different quote? But Ellen, I think I saw you in here. Thanks for this quote. He's such an amazing guy to work with. Ellen, what's nice about Ellen endorsing what we've done is she's been in next level practice, group practice boss, and audience building academy. So I think I saw her pop in earlier. So you can specifically ask Ellen questions if you're not sure, because she has done it all. And then Brian Cooper said, when I started Next Level Practice, I felt overwhelmed at the vast idea of starting a private practice of my own. But I was determined to equip myself as best I could to succeed. The Next Level Practice community, resources, and accountability helped me to feel prepared, eased my overwhelmed feelings, and started my practice off on the right foot. I'm so glad I decided to invest in myself and my practice through NLP. I'm happy to say that in just 7 months, I've quadrupled my average weekly session count, and I'm coming off my most profitable month to date. So we have people that have done this, and we, to our core, don't want to put you into a program that is too much or too little for you. We want you to be able to be in something that will support where you're at, will help you grow as quick as you want to grow, and help you move on and run the business of your dreams. So if you think about every hour you spend searching or evaluating or watching YouTube videos and wondering if it could be right, that could actually be time that you're growing your solo or your group practice. I do want to quickly show you the circle community, and then we're going to go into Q&A. So in next level practice on the left here, you can see all the different courses we have. So Circle is similar to a Facebook group meets e-courses. So we have all of our courses in here, everything from email marketing, private pay and private practice, how to use Canva, social media. And then we have all sorts of people asking questions and giving each other feedback on all sorts of different things, invites to be on my podcast, how to have successful group pay practices, things like that. So next level practice, that's where we have all of our discussions in small groups. Group practice launch, that's where what's nice about this is it's broken down month by month. So month 1, it walks you through exactly what you need to learn. So these are 5 to 15-minute videos about getting ready to start your group practice, establishing your mission, reviewing your phone systems, looking at EHRs, ways to minimize your liability as a practice owner. And it just walks you through every single month the videos you watch, and then you have Q&A with Ash and Latoya walking you through that transition from solo to group. And then with Group Practice Boss, again, we have weekly meetings with Group Practice Boss and all sorts of different things. So if you just look at marketing, here's all sorts of marketing things that we have in here. How do you do SEO and Google ads? How do you track website data using Google Analytics? How do you set up Facebook ads for a group practice? So a lot of these things that are I don't even know how to do that. Maybe your assistant comes here and sets a lot of this up. Looking at your finances, what are some of the things regarding finances, money mindset, making bank to live the life you want, non-insurance, networking. So all sorts of things there. And then in our audience building academy, we walk you through over 6 months. The first 2 sessions are around your niche. The next 2 are on your email course. The next 2 are around getting media attention. then your social media sprint, then getting podcast interviews, then hosting your first summit. So every single community that you're in, you get access to the one before it. So if you're in group practice launch, you still get access to everything next level practice. If you're in group practice boss, you get access to everything below that. And audience building academy, same sort of thing. So we have lots of people that are leveling up this week. It's amazing to see how quickly people level up when they're in our communities. And if you have any questions about that or about marketing, I am opening it up now. So Dana, I'm going to let you, because you've been managing the chat. Why don't you, do you want to just ask the questions to me that haven't been
Yes.
answered in the chat yet?
Yes. Let me scroll. Kelly, looking for guidance on creating micro content on social media. Any course for that by chance?
Yeah, so we cover that quite frequently. We don't necessarily have one course on that. It would be more, how do we multi-purpose it? So Kelly, I would be interested in what have you already created? So if it's blog posts, if it's Facebook Lives that you could have transcribed, even using Chat GPT, we've been doing a lot of AI training in some of our groups, of even just asking AI for ideas around particular areas. So I need 10 ideas for blog posts on anxiety in the springtime, and using these digital tools to give ideas, so that we're using our brains to actually create the content, instead of just going and having to be like, oh, what's trending right now. Like, we don't need to do that anymore. There's AI and other things that can show us that, like Google Trends. So usually micro content wouldn't, at least in my point of view, would be part of a broader kind of reuse of content training, rather than just like a standalone training. Just thinking through, if I have a blog post that has 5 main points, let's take each of those 5 main points and break them down to the 1 to 3 sentence version of that. If I'm on the radio and I have 5 main points, let's turn that into a blog post and then turn that into micro content.
From Stacy, what are the numbers we should look at to know if we are ready to hire our first person? Consistent referrals or question mark?
Yeah. So there's 2 major ways to think about this. So one is, if you have consistent referrals, we want to run those numbers, which I'll show you in just a second. The second would be looking at, are you looking to expand your network? So for example, you might have been turning people away in a niche that you don't serve. If you don't serve kids and you keep getting calls about kids, it might be warranted to hire someone that focuses on kids, assuming that matches the DNA you want to build of your practice. And so first we want to look at just some really simple numbers. So let's say you have 5 sessions a week that people are calling in and you're too full to take. So we want to just look big picture at, what would your takeaway be? And then does that make sense financially for you and your individual life situation? So at 5 sessions a week, if we know that most of those will probably convert, that means that within 6 weeks or so, we could have someone at 20 sessions a week. If we said 20, and say you're reimbursed at 150, maybe your private pay, so 150 a week, or 150 per session times 48 weeks, that would be $144,000 gross that comes in for that individual. So then if we just say, typically about half of that would go to the clinician if we're doing a percentage-based model. If you have W-2 employees, it might be even less than that, maybe 35 to 40%. But let's just say 50%. And then of that other remaining, you're probably going to take home conservatively 20%. So that means that if you had one person doing 20 sessions a week at 150, taking 20% home, that would be an extra $28,800 per year, or $2,400 per month. So then if you run those numbers and say, okay, would $2,400 a month be worth it for starting a group practice? If the answer is yes, then do it. Set up a 1099 or W-2 contract based on your employment lawyer and what they would say. And that's where, we want to look at, do you have those referrals coming in? On the other side, there may be people that just have connections that you don't have. Like that lady, Sarah, we didn't have a ton of teens coming in, but she was known in the community. And her first Saturday, she was full. Because she was so well known in the community. And she posted on Facebook, I'm going to start working at mental wellness counseling next month. Anyone that wants to be on my wait list, send me a direct message or call me and I'll get you booked. She was full her first day. These were people I didn't even have to go find, and I got my percentage from it.
Oh wait, no, there's new ones. Sorry, I was responding to somebody. Someone asked about SEO and marketing in the programs, and we definitely have content about that.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just developing my site and I'm about 3/4 full, but only have received referrals for my clients. I haven't done any marketing, so I'm not sure I'll be able to get more referrals or how many. So build my private practice more or ready to level up?
Mm. Well, I guess I would want to know for that individual how they define level up. Typically when someone's 60 to 70% full, if they want to do a group practice, I would say that's a good time to bring someone else in if they're talking about leveling up into a group practice. In regards to marketing, I would say it's always smart to have ongoing marketing in some sense, even if you're full. Because there's that opportunity of growing a group practice, of raising your rates, of leaving really crappy insurance companies that don't pay well or don't treat you well. And so, if you do have some level, it doesn't have to be the same robust level as when you're not full, but to really think through what level of marketing do I want to do. But typically, if you want to start a group practice, if you're that full, then that would be a great time to do it.
Okay. I think that was all of them. Well, there's a couple really great comments from people who have been in GPL, GPB, and next level practice. So check those out. People are appreciative.
Awesome. I see some other questions. Maybe
Yeah,
you responded to
I've been
some of these.
responding to a bunch of them.
Yeah.
Is it possible to, oh, you can't see that one. There's always access to be able to talk about any questions you have. There was a question about is our programs all self-directed online, but
Mm.
we have live events. There's some self-guided stuff, but you can always ask questions. There's always someone ready to answer your questions.
Yeah, so we have our consultants available for each of our communities. We have at least a weekly meeting, sometimes more than that, and oftentimes those weekly meetings have 20 people or fewer. So even though we have over 100 people in both of our communities, they don't all show up for every single meeting, and so usually there's time for laser coaching in any of them. So let's
Just a
see.
couple more questions.
All right, do it.
What do you think is a decent range as a marketing budget?
Yeah, I would say typically 5 to 15% of your gross revenue, depending on what your goals are. If you're full, I would say, maybe having it be 3% or lower to just have some regular automation and presence. Whereas if you're really looking at growing quickly, then I would say you want to be probably closer to that 10%.
What about marketing when you're playing multiple roles? Therapist, speaker, consultant, coach.
Hmm. I would say read the book, The One Thing. uh, the question they ask in that book is, what's the one thing that if you achieved that, it would make everything else non-existent or easier? So if we looked at all these different roles and we said, okay, so as a therapist, you're making $200 per session. As a speaker, you get paid 2 grand, once every couple months. But we look at how much time goes into that 2 grand, the travel time, the amount of time that it takes to put in a proposal, to be a supervisor. So oftentimes we see all of this as being equal. And I would actually say, like, for one, which hour by hour brings in the most revenue and the most joy, because we don't want to just do it for the money. We don't want to do it and feel drained and like feel like we hate our lives. Life's too short for that. So where is the highest joy and the highest revenue? I would start there and say, let's try to do more of that. And then if we have time and energy, we can put it into the other things. I don't think you should try to do it all unless you've already automated it. I typically have a full plate and then I take things off that plate and then I put new things on that plate. So for example, really figuring out the operations of our membership communities. So several years ago, Dana wasn't working for us. There was a lot of things that whenever we did surveys, people would say, small groups, they were the biggest source of contention for people because we'd say they were self-guided and we try to help encourage them and people just wouldn't do them. So we brought in Dana to help oversee those small groups to make sure things are flowing like they should, that people know kind of what's going on. That was taking a frustration off of my plate and letting Dana handle it. And so being able to figure out of all the multiple roles, are they all equal? Because I would probably say probably not. And I would look at those things that are kind of the biggest ROI for your money and for your joy.
Uh, Time for more questions? There
Yeah.
was one. Do you have any SEO marketing tips, please?
Yes. Content wise, it's crazy what any of these AIs like Chat GPT are using in regards to writing a blog post and then you can just scan through it and make it your own. I would say doing that. Make sure you're doing internal linking. So if you have, say, a blog post about seasonal affective disorder, you want to link to maybe another blog post that's about, when is depression a problem, and using those anchor text things. Also using things like trends.google.com. It's totally free. You can just put in multiple search terms and see what's searched more. So for example, in your area, is therapy or counseling searched more? If counseling is searched 2 to 3 times more than therapy, use that more in your content because more people are searching for it. And so we want to optimize it by how people are searching.
Okay, and if you were just starting out, what's the first thing you'd focus on for marketing?
For marketing, having a beautiful website. I think too many people hodgepodge their website right from the beginning. If you pay to have a nice looking website right from the beginning, it's going to serve you for 10 years.
And then what about how you would shape the marketing messaging and presentation of the different roles?
What about how you would shape the marketing messaging and presentation of the different roles? Oh, I think Rachel might be referring to the different roles that we each play, like that we were talking about earlier. Rachel, if you could clarify that, that would be helpful. I'm not sure I fully understand the question.
And that was the last
All right,
question.
cool. Thank you everybody for coming today. I want to be respectful of your time. I know we're a minute over. I hope you have an amazing day. And thanks for helping us hit 1,300 people registering for Level Up Week. That's insane. Tell your friends about it. practiceofthepractice.com/level up. And I'll see y'all tomorrow. Bye. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with us today and going through this Level Up Week training. Again, don't forget to sign up for Level Up Week. It's starting in just a little bit here, September 18th through 21st. We are going to have so many great trainings on starting a private practice, growing a group practice, and even starting a group practice, as well as passive income and so many other things that are really going to help you level up quickly. It is an intense week of trainings to help you level up quickly. You can sign up for that over at practiceofthepractice.com/level up. And we could not do this show without our amazing sponsors. Sponsors like Therapy Notes. Therapy Notes is the best electronic health records out there. You can sign up over at therapynotes.com. Use promo code Joe at checkout to get 2 months totally free. And thank you so much for letting me into your ears and into your brain. Have an amazing day. I'll talk to you soon. Special thanks to the band Silence is Sexy for that intro music, and this podcast is designed to provide accurate and authoritative information in regard to the subject matter covered. It is given with the understanding that neither the host, the producers, the publishers, or guests are rendering legal, accounting, clinical, or other professional information. If you want a professional, you should find one.